Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the English Speaking Podcast. I'm Jennifer, and I'm really happy you're here learning with us today. On this podcast, we don't focus on heavy textbooks or complicated grammar explanations. Instead, we learn simple, practical, everyday English that you can actually use in real conversations.
And hello, everyone. I'm Daniel. A big welcome to all our listeners around the world. And if you've listened to us before, it's great to have you back again as part of our learning community.
Yes, just relax, enjoy the conversation, and learn English with us step by step.
So, Jennifer, before we jump into today's topic, let me ask you a quick question. How has your day been so far?
Honestly, it's been a busy morning, lots of little tasks to finish, but now I feel really good sitting here and talking with you and with our listeners.
I know that feeling. My day was also a little busy and a little tiring, but talking about English always gives me energy.
That's true. And actually, this calm moment we have right now is exactly how learning English should feel.
Yes, calm and comfortable, not stressful.
Exactly, because many learners think English has to be difficult.
But the truth is, learning English can be simple if you focus on how people really speak.
And that brings us to today's topic.
Yes, today we're going to talk about something that every English learner already knows, but sometimes feels confused about when speaking.
Nouns.
Right. Words like book, water, job, idea, information.
Most learners already know many nouns. They know the vocabulary.
But when they start speaking, something suddenly feels strange.
Exactly. They say a sentence and then they pause and think, why does this sound a little weird?
Or they wonder, I learned this word, so why doesn't my sentence sound natural?
And that confusion happens all the time.
Because knowing a word and using it naturally in conversation are two different things.
Sometimes a noun sounds perfect in a textbook,
But in real conversation, people use it a little differently.
or they combine it with different words.
And that's what makes English feel confusing for many learners.
So today, we're not going to memorize grammar rules.
No long lists, no complicated explanations.
Instead, we're going to explore how nouns actually work in real conversations.
The way people naturally use them when they speak.
Because once you understand that, your sentences immediately start sounding smoother.
And you stop thinking, why does my sentence sound strange?
If you've ever had that feeling while speaking English, then today's conversation is definitely for you.
So take a deep breath, relax, and listen carefully as we explore how nouns really work in everyday English. Because before we go deeper into this idea, there's one simple question we should probably start with when we hear the word noun. Because before we go deeper into this idea, there's one simple question we should probably start with when we hear the word noun. When people hear that word, what do you think they usually imagine, Jennifer?
Oh, I think many people immediately imagine school classrooms, big grammar books, long definitions, and maybe a little stress.
Yes, exactly. The word noun sounds very academic, like something complicated.
But in reality, a noun is actually one of the simplest parts of language.
Absolutely. A noun is simply the thing you're talking about.
That's it. Nothing scary, just the thing.
It could be a person like friend or teacher.
It could be a place, like city or restaurant.
It could be an object like phone, table, or coffee.
And it can even be an idea, like time, love, problem, or opportunity.
And here's the funny part. Everyone listening to us right now already uses nouns all day long.
Yes, from the moment you wake up in the morning.
You think about time.
Maybe you look at the clock and think, oh no, I'm late.
Then you think about work or school.
Maybe you think about breakfast or coffee.
Or maybe your first thought is your phone.
That happens to many people.
Then you start thinking about your plans for the day.
Your job, your family, your friends.
Maybe even your problems or your ideas.
All of those words are nouns.
So you see, nouns are already a natural part of your daily thinking.
You're not learning something completely new today.
You're just becoming more aware of something you already do.
And that's an important idea when learning English.
Because language learning is not always about adding more and more information.
Sometimes it's about noticing patterns in the language you already hear and use.
Exactly. Once you start noticing these patterns, English begins to feel more natural.
Let me ask you something, Daniel. In your daily life, what nouns do you think you use most often?
That's a good question. I think the word I use most often is probably work.
That sounds realistic.
Yes, I say things like, I have work today, I'm finishing my work, or I'll do that after work.
For me, the word time appears everywhere.
That's a big one.
I say things like, I need more time, give me a little time, or I don't have time right now.
That's a great example of a noun we use constantly without thinking about it.
And listeners, here's a quick question for you.
Think about your daily life for a moment.
What nouns do you use most often?
Maybe job,
Maybe family.
maybe food, money, friend, or study.
Try to think of 2 or 3 nouns that appear often in your day,
You can even say them out loud if you want.
because those words are the ones that are most important for your real conversations.
And when you focus on the nouns that matter in your daily life, your English becomes more useful.
But here's where something interesting happens.
Sometimes learners know the noun perfectly.
They know the meaning,
They know how to pronounce it.
but when they put it inside a sentence, something suddenly feels wrong.
Maybe the sentence sounds a little strange.
Maybe it feels slightly unnatural.
And that usually happens because nouns in English behave in different ways.
Some nouns can be counted easily.
Others cannot.
Some nouns need certain small words before them.
And some nouns change depending on the situation.
And once you understand those small differences, your sentences suddenly start sounding much more natural.
Exactly. You begin to see why one sentence feels correct while another feels slightly off.
And the good news is that the logic behind this is actually quite simple.
It usually starts with one very important question.
A question that can immediately help you understand how a noun behaves in English.
And that question is something we'll explore next, because before using any noun in a sentence, there's a simple thing we should ask ourselves first.
Because before using any noun in a sentence, there's a simple thing we should ask ourselves first.
And that question is actually very simple.
Yes, the question is, can I count it?
Exactly. It sounds like a small question, but it helps us understand a very important difference in English nouns.
The difference between countable nouns and uncountable nouns.
Now, don't worry, these terms might sound a little technical, but the idea behind them is very logical.
Let's start with countable nouns.
As the name suggests, these are nouns you can count one by one,
For example, 1 book, 2 books, 3 books.
or 1 apple, 2 apples, 3 apples.
The important thing is that each item is separate.
Yes, you can imagine them clearly as individual things.
Another example is ideas.
Right, you can say 1 idea, 2 ideas, or many ideas.
People are also countable.
Exactly, 1 person, 2 people, 3 people.
And because these nouns can be counted, we can use words like a, an, many, or a few.
For example, a book, many books, a few ideas.
Your brain understands this naturally because it's logical.
Now let's look at the other side, uncountable nouns.
And again, we ask the same question.
Can we count it one by one?
If the answer is no, then it's uncountable.
That means we talk about it as a whole, not as separate items.
A very common example is information.
Let's test it. Can you say 1 information?
That sounds strange, right?
Yes, it doesn't sound natural in English.
We simply say information as a general thing.
Another good example is advice.
Learners often say an advice
But native speakers usually say some advice.
because advice is something we don't count one by one.
Exactly. We think of it as a whole idea.
The same happens with money.
You don't say 1 money or 2 monies.
Instead, you say some money, a little money, or not much money.
Another common example is time,
Yes, we often say, I don't have much time.
or give me a little time.
But we don't say 3 times when we mean time as a resource.
Exactly. That would mean something completely different.
So, once again, the key question is very simple.
Can I count it?
If the answer is yes, it's countable.
If the answer is no, it's uncountable.
And this small difference affects how we build our sentences.
Because countable nouns work with a, an, many, a few.
And uncountable nouns work with some, much, a little.
Let's hear 2 quick examples so everyone can feel the difference.
I have a book.
That works because book is countable.
Now listen to this. I have some information.
That works because information is uncountable.
And when learners understand this logic, their sentences immediately start sounding more natural.
Yes, because many small mistakes disappear.
For example, learners stop saying things like an advice.
Or many informations.
Instead, they say some advice.
Or a lot of information.
And suddenly, their English feels smoother.
But nouns don't only change because of counting.
Sometimes, nouns are connected to something else that learners find confusing.
Yes, something that happens all the time when we speak English.
The connection between verbs and nouns.
Because when we talk, we're constantly moving between actions and ideas.
And sometimes we use a verb.
And other times, we turn that verb into a noun.
For many learners, that change can feel a little confusing at first.
They often ask, should I use the verb here or should I use the noun form?
And understanding that difference can make your English sound much more natural.
So let's explore that idea together, because the moment you understand why English sometimes turns actions into nouns, you'll start hearing conversations in a completely different way.
Because the moment you understand why English sometimes turns actions into nouns, you'll start hearing conversations in a completely different way.
Exactly. Many learners think verbs and nouns are completely separate things, but in English, they are often connected.
Yes, a single idea can sometimes appear as a verb or as a noun.
And the choice changes how the sentence feels.
So let's start with a simple question, Daniel. Why do we sometimes change a verb into a noun?
That's a great question. The answer is actually quite simple. When we use a verb, we focus on the action.
Something is happening.
Someone is doing something.
But when we change that verb into a noun, the focus moves away from the action.
Instead, we talk about the idea, the result, or the concept.
Let's look at a clear example.
Good idea.
First sentence. We want to improve.
Here, improve is a verb.
The sentence feels active and direct.
It sounds natural in everyday conversation.
Now listen to the second sentence. Our goal is improvement.
Now the word improvement is a noun.
The sentence feels a little more organized and formal.
Instead of talking about the action, we are talking about the result or goal.
And that's why noun forms appear a lot in work situations.
Yes, especially in emails, meetings, reports, and presentations.
People often talk about decisions, solutions, improvements, developments.
All of those words are nouns that originally come from verbs.
Let's make this idea easier with two simple patterns.
Yes, two small formulas that can help learners.
Formula number 1. If you are talking about doing something, use a verb.
For example, I want to decide.
We want to improve.
They want to grow.
These sentences sound natural and direct.
They are perfect for normal conversations.
Now, formula number 2, if you are talking about a plan, results, goal, or topic, you often use a noun.
For example, we need to make a decision.
Our goal is improvement.
This growth is important.
Notice how the focus changes.
Yes, the verb shows action while the noun shows the idea or result.
Let's imagine a real situation to make this clearer.
Okay.
Imagine you're talking to a friend.
You might say something like, I want to develop my skills.
That sounds natural and relaxed.
But now imagine you're writing an email to your manager.
You might say, the development of my skills is important to me.
Same meaning, but the sentence sounds more formal.
Exactly. So the goal isn't to sound more complicated.
The goal is to sound appropriate for the situation.
Casual conversation often prefers verbs.
Professional communication often uses more nouns.
And once learners understand this difference, they start choosing words more naturally.
Instead of memorizing long grammar rules.
They simply ask themselves one small question. Am I talking about the action or the idea itself?
That one question can completely change how a sentence sounds.
And when you start noticing this pattern, you'll hear it everywhere.
In conversations,
In podcasts,
in meetings.
even in movies and interviews.
But here's where another interesting challenge appears for many learners.
Yes, because even when learners understand the difference between verbs and nouns,
They sometimes wonder how those noun forms are created,
for example, why improve becomes improvement.
or why decide becomes decision.
Some words change in predictable ways, others look completely different.
And that's the moment when many learners start asking, is there a rule for this?
That's a very good question, and it leads us to another interesting part of the conversation as we continue exploring how these noun forms are actually built in English. And that's the moment when many learners start asking, is there a rule for this?
Yes, that question comes up very often. People see verbs like improve, decide, develop, and they wonder how those verbs suddenly become nouns like improvement, decision, or development.
And the honest answer is a little interesting.
Yes, the answer is yes and no.
English does have patterns,
But it doesn't have one single rule that works perfectly for every word.
so it's not like mathematics.
Exactly. It's more like noticing word families and patterns that appear again and again.
Let's start with one very common pattern.
Many verbs become nouns by adding ment at the end.
For example, improve becomes improvement.
Develop becomes development.
When learners see this pattern a few times, it starts feeling familiar.
But then English introduces another pattern.
Yes, the ION or SION endings.
For example, decide becomes decision.
Discuss becomes discussion.
Again, the action becomes an idea or a result.
But sometimes the noun form looks quite different from the verb.
A good example is grow.
The noun is growth.
And that can confuse learners because the words don't look very similar.
When learners see differences like this, they sometimes think English has no logic at all.
But the important thing to remember is this. Native speakers usually don't create these forms by guessing,
Instead, they learn them naturally as pairs.
like a small family of words.
Improve, improvement.
Decide, decision.
Develop, development.
When you hear these pairs many times, your brain starts connecting them automatically.
And that's why listening to real English conversations is so helpful.
Because you hear how these words naturally appear together.
Instead of memorizing long lists,
You simply notice patterns over time.
let's give our listeners a couple of simple tips.
Good idea. Tip number 1, don't try to invent noun forms if you're not sure.
If you're unsure, it's better to check or listen to how people actually use the word,
Tip number 2, try to learn verb-noun pairs together.
especially common ones used in daily life, work, or study.
That way, your brain remembers them as one connected idea.
And little by little, those patterns start feeling natural.
Now, there's another small detail that can make a big difference when using nouns.
Yes, something that many learners notice when their sentence feels slightly off.
Even if the noun itself is correct.
The sentence might still sound a little strange.
And very often the reason is a small word that comes after the noun.
A preposition. Words like for, to, in, of, or about.
These tiny words can completely change how natural a sentence sounds.
Let's look at a quick example.
Imagine someone says, "This is the reason of my decision,"
We understand the meaning.
but it doesn't sound very natural.
Native speakers usually say, this is the reason for my decision.
So the noun reason naturally connects with for.
Let's try another one.
Someone might say, "We need a solution of this problem."
Again, the meaning is clear.
But the natural version is, "We need a solution to this problem."
The noun solution connects with to.
And here's one more example that learners hear often.
Experience.
Someone might say, "I have experience on teaching."
But the natural sentence is, I have experience in teaching.
These small combinations make English sound smooth and natural,
And the best way to learn them is to remember the noun and preposition together.
like a small phrase,
Reason for.
solution to.
Experience in.
Once you start noticing these combinations, your sentences flow much more easily.
And it becomes easier to build longer, more natural sentences.
In fact, the best way to practice all of this is by using nouns in small stories or conversations.
Because when words appear inside a story, they stick in your memory much better.
So let's try a small conversation example together and see how these nouns naturally appear in real speech.
And that final reminder is this. English is not about sounding perfect. It's about being understood and expressing your ideas clearly. Because when we place these words inside a small story or conversation, they suddenly feel much more natural.
Exactly. So let's imagine a simple situation from everyday life.
All right, let's say last weekend I had a very interesting experience.
Oh, really? Now I'm curious. Tell me what happened.
Well, first I had a small problem with my schedule. I wanted to go hiking, but I also had a lot of work to finish.
That sounds like a classic situation. Work on one side and free time on the other.
Exactly. So I needed to find a solution to the problem.
I like how you use that word, a solution to the problem.
Yes. So I made a decision to wake up very early in the morning.
That was a smart decision.
It really was, because that small decision created a big improvement in my morning.
More time, less stress.
Exactly. I had enough time for breakfast and I could start my hike feeling relaxed.
That already sounds like a great start to the day.
Then, during the hike, I met a friend on the trail.
Nice surprise.
Yes, and she shared her experience in hiking with me.
That must have been helpful.
It really was. She gave me some great advice about planning routes and staying safe on longer hikes.
Good advice can make a big difference.
Absolutely. And after the hike, I stopped at a small cafe nearby.
That sounds like the perfect ending to the day.
Yes, I had a strong interest in trying their local food, so I decided to sit down and relax there for a while.
I love how naturally all those nouns appeared in your story. Words like problem, solution, decision, improvement, experience, advice.
And that's exactly the point for our listeners today.
When you use nouns inside real situations or small stories, they stop feeling like grammar.
They simply become part of your conversation.
And that's when English starts to feel natural.
So, before we finish today's episode, let's quickly remember the most important ideas we talked about.
First, nouns are everywhere. You already use them every single day in your life.
Second, understanding the difference between countable and uncountable nouns helps your sentences sound more natural.
Third, verbs and nouns are often connected. Sometimes we talk about the action, and sometimes we talk about the idea or result.
And finally, small things like prepositions can make a big difference in how smooth your English sounds.
But the most important thing is not to try to memorize everything at once.
Instead, listen carefully, notice patterns, and practice a little every day.
Little by little, your English will become smoother, clearer, and more confident.
And remember, learning English isn't about perfection.
It's about communication, curiosity, and enjoying the process.
So keep listening, keep noticing how people use words, and keep practicing whenever you can.
And if you enjoyed learning with us today on the English Speaking Podcast, we have a small favor to ask.
If this conversation helped you understand English a little better, take 2 seconds to support the podcast.
Tap the like button, share this episode with a friend who's learning English, and subscribe so you never miss a new lesson.
When you like and share the podcast, it helps more learners around the world discover it.
And that helps our English learning community grow stronger every day.
Thank you so much for spending your time learning with us.
Keep practicing, keep speaking, and keep enjoying your English journey.
We'll see you again very soon in the next episode of the English Speaking Podcast.
Until then, take care and keep speaking English.
Goodbye, everyone.
See you next time.